right, here we go. I just wanted to start off the way that really, so what we're doing is I am a conversational pastor. I like talking to people. I like really just simply, getting down. I love grabbing coffee. At the end of the sermon, actually, I'm going to give you a link. If you want to grab a coffee with me, you can schedule a coffee with me, like at the end of the sermon. That's what we're about. We're about relationship here. That's what we're all about, is building relationships. And so here's the thing. I was thinking, how can we start a church? What do you do when you start a church? Well, every relationship starts the same way. You start by saying, hi, it's nice to meet you. And so that's just what I wanted to do with, right, is, hi, it's nice to meet you. We are so pumped. We're so thrilled, honestly, to do this thing and to dive into this together. Here's what I really believe is going to happen. 20 years from now, Cultivate Church, I'm praying and believing that it's going to be a thing and it's going to be awesome. And every single one of you here today, you're going to have this badge on your card. I don't know what card. I don't know what I'm talking about. You're going to have a badge on a card that just simply says, I was there. I was there the day that it launched. I was there the day that it started. Can you bring I'm really loud, and I'm really loud, so I don't need to be really loud. That would be great. Thank you. That's excellent. Okay, so you're going to be here, and you'll be able to say, I was there the day that Cultivate Church started. You'll have that badge. You'll be able to say that. And I think it matters because it does. And so I just want to say thanks. Thanks for being here again. I know we've said it 6 times, but I cannot begin to tell you how grateful we are. So since we're starting this conversation, I also wanted to just tell you a little bit about myself. I know I already gave you my name, but we're starting a conversation. So my name is Bobby. And I want to let you know who I am, where I came from, what I am all about, actually. And so my name is Bobby, and I'm a kid, actually, that I grew up all over the world. I was born in northern Kansas, just a few miles south of Nebraska, so I take Nebraska, I'll say it, right? Just a few miles south, that's where I was at. But nonetheless, I've lived all over the world. When I was 7 days old, my family started going all over, visiting every church, basically in Kansas. They were missionaries. When I was 2, we moved to Costa Rica. I lived there for a year. Then we lived in Romania for most of my elementary school, with 1 year in Kansas and 1 year in Chicago through that. And then we moved to Romania, a post-communist country. And I lived in a country just after the fall of communism. We got there on the phone. You could still hear the communist guys breathing on the phone while I'm talking to Janae, actually, in Romania. There's somebody listening to this phone call because that's how communist it still was. But this is my story, right? But then I moved to the U.S., and I've pastored all over the place. I've pastored in Kansas and Missouri. And then about 5 years ago, God brought me to Nebraska. When I first moved to Nebraska, here's what I thought. Honestly, when I first moved to Lincoln, I love this city. Because I grew up in Bucharest, Romania, the capital city. What it had was people living basically from everywhere. You had people coming up from the Middle East. You had people coming up from Russia. You had people everywhere coming into Madrid, into Bucharest. Both of those were capital cities that I lived in. So I'm all about the capital, right? This is what it's in my blood. And then I get here and I see this is an immigrant city. There's this is a place where we literally have every country, every culture just coming in together. And I was let's go. I love this place. But here's the thing, is I moved here, and I actually moved here to take a job at a church on the south side of town. And I remember driving by the central part of Lincoln every single day to get to that job, because you can't afford housing down there when you first get here. That's what I discovered also. And then so I was driving down there every single day, and I was you know what? Look at that empty church. Look at this area, look at this. And my heart began to pull at that moment. Honestly, when I first moved here, I was somebody needs to put a church in the central of Lincoln. That's what I thought. And I was that'll be great for that person, and it'll go good for them, and I'm going to pray for them because it's going to be awesome. I've got a job. I'm good. But over the course of years, it was about 2 years ago, God really began to speak to me. And God spoke to me, and what he said was Bobby, you're doing good where you're at, but it's time to make a change. You need to change everything because Central Lincoln needs somebody to care desperately about it. Central Lincoln needs somebody to go there and really just simply love and bring the light of Jesus in a place where it is needed. It is desperately needed. And I think it's needed in South Lincoln too. I think it's needed everywhere. But God just put it on me that I needed to be in this location. And so I remember literally driving by the police station. I didn't know I was a block away from Park Middle School at the time, but I'm somebody needs to put a church here. Now God has said, it's you. It's time. Let's go. It's time. Let's go. And so that's what leads us here. And really, here's how it went down. I was actually just reading through the book of Romans, and I read this one verse, and this has never really happened to me before, but I read this one verse in Romans, and it stopped me cold. I had to stop reading. I'd put the Bible down and said, God, did you just does that mean what I think it means? And I know what it means contextually. I'd studied the history. I've studied the commentaries. I knew all that. But it was, what does that mean for me, God? Because sometimes that's a different question. What does it mean, and what does it mean for me? And so I was reading it, and I was like, God, what do I need to do with that? He like really showed me that it was go time, and I need to do something. So I just wanted, like, this first sermon, I thought I should preach that one verse is really what we're going to focus on. There's more Bible coming in a little bit, but the one verse is the main focus of what we're looking at. And it's Romans chapter 11, verse 23. And here's what the verse says. It says, the people, actually 24, sorry, I wanted that one. You by nature were a branch cut from a wild olive tree. And I read that, and I was like, yeah, I get that. And I don't know if you get that. Have you ever felt like you were a branch cut from a wild olive tree? Have you ever felt like you're sowing wild oats? Have you ever felt like you're the one who doesn't belong? Have you ever felt like you're the one that's out of place? You're the one that everybody calls crazy? I mean, in my family, I am the crazo. I am. I was the rebellious one because everybody else went overseas, did something else. I was like, no, I'm going to America, baby. And I was like, I was weird. I know that's not very rebellious, but I get what I get, right? So that's what I got. But I felt like I was always off in many ways. And when I moved to America, I felt like I was off because I grew up in Europe, and I spoke Spanish, and they're like, it was weird, right? So if God was willing to do something contrary to nature by grafting you into his, I don't know if you read this next word, but it's really important to us right here, cultivated tree, he will be far more eager to graft the original branches back into the tree where they belong. And so what he's saying is, see, he's preaching this message. He's writing this message. It's called Romans because it's written to the city of Rome. Rome was the capital of the Roman Empire. That should not come as a surprise to really anybody. But Rome was the capital of the Roman Empire. And what happens in any capital city is, I know, you guys know, all of us know, is that immigrants come. There's people from all over the place bringing in. There's a melting pot type of society where you've got this group and this group and this group, and they're all trying to figure out, how do we do life together, right? Now, you put that into a church context, and you get how do we do church together, right? Because if there's anything divisive in the world, it's normally church. I mean, it is, right? It is very divisive at times. So what he's saying is, no, but my vision is this. We will have these people, the wild ones, we'll have these old fogey religious folks who have gone to church their whole lives, and we're going to bring them all together, and we're just going to graft them in. And I don't know if you know much about cultivation or like agriculture, but what grafting is you cut this, you bring them in, you tape them together. They don't want to be together, but they're taped together, they're merged together, and then they begin to grow real relationship. And what happens is they begin to flourish. And both groups flourish better when they come together, right? Now, the thing is, most of us, we look at churches. I've pastored churches, all right? That coming together is not a thing. It's not what we do. And yet, this is our heartbeat. This is who we are. We believe no one is beyond. No one is beyond being grafted in. No one is beyond coming in and saying, you know what, you belong here, you matter here, you're welcome here, we love you. We want to just say, come on in. This is what we are all about. And so I was reading this passage, and it's that was great, right? But that was 5 seconds, and a sermon is supposed to go at least 30 minutes. So what do I add? How do I exemplify this a little bit more? And then God really spoke to me again. He's like, there's a story that you know really well, and it pairs with this extremely, extremely well. And you may have heard this story before. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't, I'm not sure. But if you haven't, I'm going to tell it to you, and it's a great story. It's about a dad who had two sons. And one of the sons comes up to the dad one day, and basically here's what he does. He's old, and he's rebellious, and he basically goes up to the dad, and he says, Dad, I wish you were dead. I don't know if you've ever tried that. Don't leave this service thinking, I'm advising you to go tell your dad you wish he were dead. That's just not a cool thing to do, and it's not going to go well for you. But this is what he does. He goes up to his dad and basically says, I wish you were dead. Can you give me my inheritance now? And I'm just going to get out of here because I don't like living here anymore. If you can imagine the heartbreak, the pain, the frustration, the anger, everything that comes with that sentence, I wish you were dead, let me leave now. This is what happened in this family. And so here's what I really want to point out. The way the Bible says it is there was two sons. The younger of them came to the father and said, Father, give me my share of my property, that means my inheritance, that's coming to me. And so he divided his property between them. Now what the story says next, it says, not many days later, the younger son gathered everything he had, and he took this journey into a far country. There, he squandered his property on reckless living. So here's what I really want to point out. Have you ever made a bad decision? I mean, just a bad one. Maybe you've never gone to your dad and you said, I wish you were dead. If you did, you can probably relate to the story really well. I know I've said some things to my dad before he passed away that were just, I should have never said that, right? I think every son has probably done that, been there. I think every daughter has probably been there, to a dad, to a mom. We've all done that, to somebody, maybe to a boss. I know I've said things to bosses I should have never said, right? That's happened for sure. Have we ever made a reckless decision? And I'm not talking like I bought the cheeseburger instead of the salad decision. That's a bad one that we've all made every day, probably, right? But I'm talking about like a major reckless decision that like you made this decision and everything fell apart. Everything was wrong. This is where the son finds himself. I made this decision, I lost everything, and I don't know what my next step is. And I love this story because I can relate to it so stinking well. I've made a lot of really stupid decisions. In the Bible, we often talk about the word sin, and we talk about like, well, what sin actually means is like, this is what I'm trying to do, and I hit over here instead of here. That's literally what the definition of sin is. It's not hitting the mark. And so I don't want to get all theological and like wordy here, but I just want to say, have we ever been stupid, right? That's what it means. Have we been stupid and done something that was wrong and we knew it in our heart and it was stupid and it ruined everything? That's what this is about. He made a stupid decision and it ruined his life. Totally, completely gone. About that time, verse 14 says, the money ran out. A great famine swept over the land and he began to starve. So he goes up to this farmer and he's like, dude, I need money. I need help. Can you help me? And the farmer's like, yeah, absolutely, you can. Let's come feed the pigs for me is what he says. But the guy was making so little money, so destitute, it was such a bad place that he was in, that he was so hungry, even the pig slop tasted good. Even the pod from the pigs looked good, but nobody gave him anything. Now, we live in Nebraska. I'm sure you've driven by a cattle feed at some point in your life. If you've not, maybe the wind has picked up and brought it to Lincoln once or twice. I've smelled many cattle feeds in my life. You know what I don't think of when I smell a cattle feed? I'm hungry. I mean, that's like the last thing on my mind, right? It just is. That's anything but. When I was a kid, I actually grew up next to a pig farm for a while. And you know what pigs smell like? Think cattle feed, but like pigs. I mean, it's the same exact smell, basically. And so it's like that disgust became hunger to him. This tells us the depth of the despair that he is at, the depths of the despair to which he has fallen and to where he is so stinking desperate. Now, here's the thing. If we actually know, I don't know how much you know about Jewish culture. I don't know if you studied it, but if you've ever gone to Walmart and seen the hot dog aisle, there's these hot dogs that are kosher hot dogs and these hot dogs that are, well, for everybody else that doesn't care about kosher. That's me, right? And so we pick from this out. But here's the thing. Why do kosher hot dogs exist? I don't know if you know this or not, but it's because Jewish culture is so opposed to pigs. They first of all can't eat bacon, they can't eat ham, they can't eat anything like that. I was on a train one time going from Bucharest to Istanbul, actually, and I remember the train got pulled over because somebody was smuggling hot dogs into Turkey. It's a Muslim country, it's not allowed. And so it's like we got stuck at the border for 2 hours, not because of cocaine, because of hot dogs. I was like, this is stupid, right? And so that's where I was at. But hot dogs are completely anathema to their culture. Pigs are anathema to their culture. You cannot touch, you cannot be around. And so here's the thing, like he is, the job that he gets, what this means is he is not only touching pigs, he is eating the pig food. He lives in Israel. Do you know what that means? If he walked into the church, at that day and age, the temple, the synagogue, whatever it would have been, their church, they would have said, get out of here. You are not welcome here. I want to let that sink in. His decision was so bad that if he had walked into a church, they would have said, you don't belong here because your sin is too great. Your defilement is so bad, and the stain that you have on your life does not mesh with us. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen that in a church. Sadly, I think it has happened. And I just want to say, if you felt that, first of all, I want to say I'm sorry. That's not what the Bible, I mean, sin matters, and we need to not like just lessen that there's things that matter, but at the same time, we need to say the Bible would never say you don't belong here. It wouldn't. And so what this whole story is about, honestly, is about this man that was so stained, so hurting, so guilty that he would not have been welcomed in. So my question right now is, have you ever felt stained? Have we ever felt like I'm not good enough? I just want to say, we are in a middle school cafeteria right now. My worst memories are in a middle school. Maybe this is a redemption moment for me, right? I remember which table do I go at? I'm not worthy of that table. I know that. I don't belong at that table because they're no good. I don't belong. They're too good, right? Which table in the cafeteria do I sit in? This was my middle school. Maybe yours was better than mine. I don't know. But that was my thoughts. And so have you ever felt you don't belong? Have you ever felt unworthy? Heck, have you ever looked in the mirror? Maybe this morning you looked in the mirror and we were just like, you know what? I'm not sure I can do this. I'm not sure I can make it. So first of all, I want to say, I just want to congratulate you. You made it. You got past that inner voice that says you don't belong there. You shut that voice up and you said, I can make it. That's the first step to everything. Shutting the voice up and saying, you know what? Maybe there's a chance that I could fit in. Maybe there's a chance that I could be loved. Maybe there's a chance that it would be acceptance, actually. And so this is it. This is it. We have all felt stained. We have all been to that place. We've all felt reckless. We've all felt stained and all this. But do you know what this story is about? It's about the fact that God doesn't ever want to leave us in the pits that we find ourselves in. Every one of us has found ourselves in that pit. We found ourselves looking in the mirror, thinking those thoughts, thinking we don't belong, thinking we can't make it work, right? We've all been there, but the reality is God doesn't want to leave us in a pit. Sin matters. Sin matters a great deal. That's what the whole gospel, the Bible is about. It's about Jesus, the Son of God. God looked at me, Bobby Cunningham, he said, that dude isn't good enough to come in. He is too stained. But he said, but I love him too much. So I'm going to send my son, my one and only son. I'm going to let him take the punishment, the death, the sin, the hurt, the shame, the guilt, the feelings, everything that I feel when I look in the mirror. I'm going to take that shame and guilt and pain and all of that and the sin, and I'm going to put it on my son's shoulders. And my son will take what Bobby deserves. And here's the thing, he didn't do it just for me. He did it for every single one of us. The gospel, the Bible, it is all about the fact that God wants to see you where you're at and bring you to where you could be. You were made for more, as we sang about today. This is what the Bible is about. That God wants to bring you from where you are to someplace else. See, the problem is we all have these visions. We have these realities that we go. It's like, this is what we see when we look at ourselves, right? We see this when you look in the mirror. The shame, the guilt, the sin, the hurt, the loss, the pain, the fill in the blank, the reckless, the everything. But when God looks at us, he does not see that. Hear me. This is what this story is about. God doesn't see what we are. He sees what he made us to be. And what he made us to be was so much more beautiful. See, what he actually sees when he looks at you is he sees his child. My children have made some really stupid decisions. They have. I'm not talking about Micah. He's on stage here. I'm not talking about some of the others, obviously. But some of them that aren't in the room, they've all made stupid decisions, honestly. They've come to me covered in filth, covered in poop, covered in you name it, right? Not once have I thought, you're too stained for me to love you. If my child came to me covered in literal poop and asked for a hug, not sure what I would do, but I would probably give them a hug, honestly. I'm honest here. But I would not say no. I might just say, let's clean you up first, right? God looked at me and I was covered in my crap. And he said, I'm going to clean you up because I want to hug you. That's Jesus. This has never been said in a church, but Jesus is the crap cleaner. This is what he does. I'm not sure it should ever be said in a church again, but that's what it is. Jesus is that. He's the one that comes to take away our filth and make us something better. This is what he is. This is what he does. The son, verse 18, I'll go home and to my father and I'll say, Father, I have sinned against both heaven and you, and I am no longer worthy of being called your son. This is what he sees. But what the distance between what we see and what God sees, you can't even imagine. Hear me? You can't. So he arose and came to his father. The story goes on. But while he was still a long ways off, and I love this, he's thinking his dad won't accept him. He's thinking, I won't belong. He's thinking, maybe I can sneak in the back door. But while he is walking in, the father is peeking out the window. He sees the son coming, and he dashes out there. And what you need to picture is an old man in a robe, right? I don't know if you've seen an old man running, but an old man running in a bathrobe is even worse, right? And so he's hiking up the skirt a little more, and he's dashing to his son. And he is running over there, and he is getting his son, and he gives his son, who smells like pig poop, and he gives him a hug. I see you. I love you. I don't care what your background is. I don't care what you smell like. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what brought you here. You're here, and I love you. That's enough. That is enough. That is enough. And when we get that that is what the story is, the son looks at his dad, and he's like, Dad, I've sinned. I'm a screw up. I'm a reckless failure. I can't make it. I don't belong here is what he says. I've sinned against heaven and you. I'm no longer worthy of your call, son. But his dad looks at him. Hear me. His dad looks at him, and he calls his servants up, and he's like, guys, this is my son. And he's home. Bring me a bathrobe. He needs it. Bring me the ring. The ring was symbolic of power. He wasn't coming on as a servant. This is what he asked for. But he says, we're going to reinstate the power and the authority of my position to this man. And he says, bring the ring, bring the robe, put it on him. Put shoes on his feet because he needs those. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. This means we're going to Walmart, baby, and we're buying the prime steak. That's what he's saying. Like, forget Walmart. We're going to Hy-Vee. We're getting the prime stuff, right? That's what he says. We're going there. And let us eat and celebrate, for this is my son who was dead and alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to celebrate. See, God is all about saying, come home. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you are. It's time to come home. It's time to come home. See, what he's actually saying is there's this cultivated branch. My desire is to bring the wild branches and cultivate them into the cultivated tree. I want to bring those people in. That is what this is about. I want to connect them to the root that is Jesus Christ, and I want to connect them to something that will create life like they have never seen before. Life just like this. And if you want an example of life, here we have it. Hey, you're good, kiddo. Here. Sorry, that was wild. Anyway, life is what we're about. Life is good. It should be celebrated. This is awesome. This is fun. And so here's what he says. He says, bring him in. But here's the thing. Sometimes, hear me, when we get excited and we do things we shouldn't do and we run up to places we aren't supposed to be, there's people in the crowd that are going to be like, you don't belong there. And you're going to quickly be taken off the stage. That was perfect. Thank you. Because you don't belong there. And yet, this is exactly what happens in the story. See, as the story goes on, the son is outside, the older son, because this guy had an older brother, and the older brother's like, that guy is rebellious, he's a jerk-face, he's a snot-nose, and he smells like pigs. I don't want him here. That's basically what he says. And the older brother's like, I'm not going to go party with you. I won't go. You come out here because I'm not even going in to talk to you. And the dad comes out, and he's like, dude, you've always been with me. I've always shared everything I have with you. And this is a message, because here's what I want to share. Some of us in here, you've known Jesus. And you've known Jesus for a long time. And while I'm talking about this, let's welcome people, bring people, you have like this check in your spirit, like, I don't know if that's going to work. I don't know if that's cool. There's some people that just, I'm not sure they fit, right? Some people, maybe they're not right. Maybe they won't be good. Maybe they should, do some things before they come. So we've all been there. If you've been a Christian for long, you're going to think you're pretty good at it. That's the way it is. And what he's saying to this older brother is, dude, you've always been here, and I've always shared with you. I've always loved you. Everything I have is yours. We got to celebrate, because there's a branch cut from a wild olive tree, and he's coming back. And we got to celebrate, because it's grafting time, baby. It's grafting time. This is what he's saying. So let's graft them in to this cultivated tree. Let's graft them in to what I'm trying to do, because the mission of this church is to help people cultivate flourishing lives through Jesus Christ. It's not about us. We are not the only good church in town. We are not the Savior of Lincoln. Jesus Christ is the Savior of Lincoln. And here's the thing is, I want to connect people to that, because that will change our lives. That will change the city. That'll change the protesting. That'll change everything going around. It's not about me. It's not about my political position. It's about Jesus Christ will change things when we can connect to him. That's all that we're about. That's all we're ever going to be about, is that. So as I conclude this message, and Nate, you want to come up and play some songs for us, music? I just wanted to start where I began and just simply say, guys, it's so nice to meet you. It is so stinking nice to meet you. I'm glad you're here. I hope you stay. Because here's the thing, no matter what you think about yourself, no matter how, hey, come on up. I don't know your name, but come on up. That's fine. It's cool. No matter who you are, you're welcome. You belong. It's okay. Hey, you want to come up? Awesome. There you go. You don't get the mic. I don't think that won't work, but you can turn the mic off and give it to him. You belong. You're welcome to be here. We want to just simply say, we're here for you. We're here because we love you. We're here even if it looks different and odd and awkward. It's okay. We're here for you because God is here for you. And we just want to follow him. So I don't know where we're at today. With every single message I end, I'm going to end with this. Can I borrow your card real quick, Deja? Thank you. We've got these cards on here, and here's what we're going to do with this. First of all, obviously, you know what the top part of this card is. It's a connection card. It tells us your info. I have a lot of your info possibly already, but you know what? This will just tell me who you are and what you've got. On here, there's some things you can click in if you're interested in more of the church and all that. But here's why we have these cards, and this is what is different from every other church out there. I've never seen a church do this, is these cards rip off, and they rip off much easier than I just did. But these cards rip off, and here's why we do this, is because what we're going to do is we're going to sing a song in a little bit. But what we're going to do is while we're singing this song, I want you to take this card, rip it off, and here's what you're going to do. You're going to ask God, what is my next step with this message? What do I need to do with this message? Because I don't believe that me talking to you on a Sunday morning is going to change anything in your life. I believe God talking to you on a Sunday morning will change something. I believe God doing something will change something. So what I'm going to ask is, here's what I'm challenging us to do is, do I need to ask God to forgive me for something? Have I been reckless? Have I been lost? Have I been hurt? Do I need to ask God to graft me into a family? Do I need to ask God to change me, to bring change to my life? And so here's the reason I say these three is because this is like your classic sinner's prayer. And I'll have you write this. We'll take some time. We'll sing a song, and you just talk to God while we're singing the song. I don't even want you to sing if you don't want. I want you to spend time talking to God and ask him, what do you have for me? But here's why I have these three. And if you can pull up those three words, forgive me, graft me, change me, because this is the prayer that changes everything in your life. Jesus, I believe you died for me. All right. Forgive me. Jesus, I have sinned. I've done wrong. I tried to get here, but I hit here. Forgive me of where I'm at. Graft me into your family, to your house, to your family, and bring change to my life where you want to bring change. I want to follow you. See, that's the prayer. And my question right now, as we go into the singing time, as we go into this prayer time, I'm not making you raise hands. I'm not making you do anything else. I just want you to ask the question is, what do I need to write on this card? Graft me, forgive me, change me. Maybe it's all three. That's fine. There's plenty of room. 3 lines, actually. So you can do that. And here's what I want. If you want to turn this card in, we will pray with you. If you want to take this card and put it on your mirror in your bathroom so you can see it every day and remember that Jesus wants to change you, you do that. I don't care what you do with this card. This is for you, and it's between you and God, and you ask the question of, what do I need to do? Now, if you do pray it and you want to tell us and take it home, that's why these boxes are here, and you can just write it on here as well. And then when we take the offering, every one of us is going to turn this part into the offering, or this part if you want. You can also give money if you want to do that. And we'll do that right after this song. But let's sing and just ask God, what do you want to say to me right now?